You can make an argument that for test drive, you have a thermal and a sniper and a DMR suppressed. You're not using the equipment the way it was meant. This quest is kill people at night. I've got my flashlight on my gun. I'm ready for night. Or I've got my NVGs. I'm still risking it. Like, what? It's nighttime on factory. Like, what do you mean except on factory? It's nighttime. It's nighttime. What do you want from me? It's nighttime. What's up, everybody? Welcome to the podcast, the show dedicated to talking about all the Pogcast things in life, like music, content creation, and video games. I'm one of your co-hosts, Jesse Kazam.
And I'm not mad. I'm just disappointed. And it's not you. It's me.
It's not me, it's you.
I just took the last 90 minutes.
Okay.
For the first time in 3 months, changed over to the Tarkov category. Opened up the launcher. Had about 30 minutes of time it took with my gig down internet to download and unpack and all that good stuff. And then tried to queue in for a quick scav raid so that I could get my my FPS muscles. I've been playing with a fucking controller for the last 3 months. And, I gave up after a few minutes. Everybody was telling me that it was basically impossible for me to get in. So then I grabbed some gear. I grabbed the RPK, put the little red dot that you get. I'm a bear, by the way, this time.
Yep. Same.
Went into factory. Was getting used to all the new sounds.
Yeah.
That was a bunch to get used to. Took about 2 minutes sitting in the little bunker with like the dead body.
Yeah.
The dead scav, and just like trying to listen around, look around, and then finally ran up, went through the bottom door, opened the door up. Guy in the office, one taps me with a ketter when I was behind the door in the face. So that was the start
of the wipe.
That was the start of the wipe. And I managed to get in, I think, 4 raids. 3 of them I either died to the first person I saw or the second person I saw. Mm-hmm. One of them I died 4 seconds in because of factory spawns, and then one of them I did manage to go until there was like 5 minutes left in factory. Just killed a bunch of bots, and the first hatchling I've seen in like a year. Level 7 with nothing.
Wow.
But yeah, so other than some new sounds, I got jump scared the 3 times I dropped a gun.
Dude, when you drop a gun,
I was like, "Wow, what the f was that?"
100%. Yeah.
So yeah.
Do you feel like it was? It was probably a mixture of these things, but do you feel like it was the same issues of audio networking, or do you feel like it just wasn't time? Like people were playing weird, and it was just like it's just too early to come back. You know what I mean?
I mean, it feels exactly like I remember. It just progressively more awkward and clunky. Like part of it, is I did take some time off, so it's almost like I forgot. I had 4 years of playing Tarkov and only like 6 months with all the different like inertia and everything, and then it's also wipe day, or not wipe day, but my first raid. So I have no stamina, no strength. The new movement, the new leaning, the new sounds. It was just awkward, but in general, combat felt exactly like it used to, for me at least. It just does not.
I feel you.
Does not feel great. I don't know why, and part of it's me, but I genuinely think part of it is a lot of the aspects about the game that have changed. I just have no fucking confidence in a fight.
Yeah. Just
have none.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, the game has definitely like increasingly got like, so you as somebody who like traditionally, self-proclaimed sound whore, you're all about like listening, waiting for your moment. It's not like if you see those old school videos of Veritas playing Factory, you're not a slow player. It's just you and me are very similar. You're not just going to W key. You're not just going to continue running until some sort of external force, either you see or hear somebody and then you'll react to them. You like to move around the map kind of pretty immersively. And then based on context of what you see or hear, you can make a reaction. Sometimes it's hyper aggression. Sometimes it's play slow, whatever. And as a solo player, those two things, those like core pillars of your gameplay, the game has progressively moved away from. It's harder for a solo now than ever because we're like, 3-man minimums. You know what I mean? Like I popped in right at the end and you were like, all right, let's test the netcode. You heard a guy running. As soon as he came around the corner, you face tapped him and he immediately went down. I was like, ooh, that felt clean. And you turn the corner and there's like 3 more flashlights and you're like, well, what are you going to do? You know what I mean? So, and on factory, no less. So it was like you and that squad was basically the server.
And so, they spawned in Glass Hallway.
And you spawned
3-man, and I spawned in Fork.
Yep. Yeah. And so it's like the solo aspect is getting harder, and the I'm the same way, the type of play when I'm solo, when I am playing solo, or even when I'm just like leading our duo, I'm not a very just like W key person. That it's getting harder and harder to just like react to the environment because you can't trust the environment. You might see somebody but then die behind a wall and you're like, oh, I didn't even know he spotted me. Or you might not hear somebody and then they rush you. So I totally understand that. It's
like I wanted to be careful, and a little bit more calculated, just because, I mean, the amount of time that goes by on the wipe and my aggression are directly correlated.
For sure.
The first few raids I spawn in and I'm like, just listening, for people to run around. So I was playing pretty cautious. There were a few times where, there was one where, the guy spawned in right outside Glass Hallway over by gate 3.
Yeah.
And I spawned in Glass and I forgot how bad those spawns were.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, okay, I'm in Glass Hallway. I'm going to run out towards gate 3, and the guy turned the corner, and he had like one of the 6B, the green helmets.
Yeah.
And I don't know if he had like an AK-74 or something like that, but I had a 12 gauge, and it was like headshot, sparks, headshot, sparks, headshot. And we were doing, it felt kind of like it wasn't as bad as like the AD-80 strafe, but it was still just the most awkward. I don't know what they could do to fix that, but in real life, you wouldn't be taking 2 steps right, 2 steps left, 2 steps right. You'd probably just be like shooting each other, standing in place. It reminds me of that scene from Saving Private Ryan, I think. Isn't there one scene where like 2 guys just standing there and they run and like they go to shoot and click and it's like gun jams?
They're like both reloading and trying to just like So man, this is weird. So like before we can, like actually go through like line by line this stuff, it's been a very weird wipe. Like pretty light on the patch notes, pretty light on the major changes, which is kind of, I guess, par for the course for like the mid, because last year's summer wipe was the same thing. I remember last year's summer wipe, everybody was like, this is it, and everything got stale. And then 12.12 was this big VoIP lighthouse, like all this stuff, and it was like, yes. So it was a little light. The more like the more I played, the like better the wipe has felt. And I've actually seen, dude, it's been really hard to put your finger on the pulse of like how people are feeling about this wipe. Like some people like Chads, like level 73 labs main Chads are like, I'm really excited about this wipe. These changes have made it so much better. And then some of them are like, dog trash game, they're making it worse. Some of the people that like to play more slow and calculated and immersively are like, holy cow, these changes are incredible. And some of the people that like to play slow are like, dog trash wipe. It's really hard to put your finger on how people are feeling about this wipe. And it's,
what has changed though?
And it's such a mixed bag of certain things. I found myself multiple times this wipe being like, oh my God, this is incredible. I've wanted this for so long. This is huge. They made this change and they nailed it. They made it perfectly. And then in the same day having a moment where I'm like, I cannot believe that this hasn't changed. Like, you know what I mean? Like, this is unbelievable. Like, so it's a really weird, like obviously we weren't expecting anything huge. We weren't expecting 1.0. We weren't expecting the arena. We weren't expecting streets. There were some conspiracy theories. We weren't expecting the customizable rigs. They never said that they had fundamentally redesigned the netcode. They never said the AI was going to be better. So we didn't have a lot of expectations. And in a weird way, that's helped and hurt them because it almost felt like certain times you feel like, wow, this is the patch of surprise and delight. Like I didn't realize how much better this was going to be. I didn't realize how much better this was going to be. But then in the same token, you're like, but then how have they not addressed this? How have they not addressed this?
Yeah.
So like a few examples are like the lighting. I didn't get to message you, but I was like, Veritas, you need to go Night Factory with a flashlight. Like you need to do that. Like, don't do any more online raids. Go Night Factory with a flashlight, and somewhere back in the back of your head, it'll tickle that like first few weeks you ever played Tarkov, where you're like, whoa, it's really good. They completely, I don't know what they did with the lighting, man, but they completely changed how flashlights work, and it's infinitely better. They actually illuminate dark areas. It's not like this like circle of blinding light. It's just in front of you gets illuminated. You can see depth. It doesn't feel like the flashlights stop 15 feet away ahead of you. You can illuminate a whole area. Every time me and my squad, like Sealable or Valiant, stops, I just look at them and I turn my flashlight off and on. The way it interacts with a player model and like darker clothes absorbing some of the light, helmets, glossy helmets reflecting. Like, I'm like, it looks incredible, dude. It looks so good. And then like, you still can't shoot out the lights on Shoreline. So like, if you go with NVGs, it's like you did something with lighting and you couldn't bring this map up to par. Like, we went Shoreline, we like rushed in the resort. We were like, this is going to be perfect. And we shot, and it's just like nothing. So everything feels like it's like, oh my God. But so like, that's it. That's one example, but the lighting is insane, dude. It looks so much better. And the same with NVGs, by the way. You will be blown away at how good the NVGs are. Once again, go night.
I saw a clip.
Yeah.
And I mean, the flashlights, I noticed the difference there, but the way that they look like in factory.
Oh.
Still, I don't know.
No, dude. I'll show you a clip. I literally went into factory before the wipe, and I had every single NVG in the game on me, and I recorded a bunch of stuff, and then I went in. We went to factory because I had to do a quest or something. I had to plant the stuff on Night Factory with Valiant, and he brought me NVGs and he brought me the quad nods, and dude, it is night and day difference. The night vision.
How do I buy a flashlight?
Who
sells a
I don't
flashlight?
know. Does Skier sell one at level 1? Does Peacekeeper?
I don't know. I don't want to have to fucking examine 800 billion things. That was my first experience. Was, oh, I got to examine everything, and the first few quests are fucking the Salewas and debut. I was like, oh well.
Yeah. I don't know.
Good, man.
I don't know.
Oh wait, I see one. I bought it. Now I need the rings for it. Okay, all right. I'm gonna go into factory.
Yeah.
I don't have a gun to put it on.
A pistol?
I have a pistol, but it's the
the M9
like fucking rig. Offline co-op now.
Well,
let me see if there's another one. If Mechanic has a flashlight. Oh yes, he does. He does. The GTL. Let's go ahead and see. Yeah. Oh wait. Sorry, I gotta heal.
But anyways, while you're doing that, yeah, it just like it. Some of the things, like, I really do want to give them credit where credit is due, because once again, like we've talked about many times, I don't know, what team works on what. So I don't want to just like if the lighting guys have nothing to do with anything else and they work really hard, like it looks good. You know what I mean? It's like credit where credit is due. So certain things like that. And then the movement, like the movement has actually been a really interesting point, because at first when I was running around, I was like, this feels weird. I was like, you have like a little bit of head bob.
The movement from your perspective?
Yes, when you're like full sprinting, you know what I mean? You're like, this kind of feels weird. You know what I mean? Now, what's hard is there's always, even pre-inertia, wipe day is always a jolt because you're used to max strength, you're used to max endurance. And now, you know, you literally, if you go in with your kit, if you find a pistol, you're overweight. You find a car battery, good luck getting to extract. Even pre-inertia. So there's always a little bit of a jolt. And then now with inertia, that jolt is exaggerated because at the higher levels, you feel the effects of inertia less. So now that jolt is exaggerated. And so it felt really weird. And then now you have like this little bit of head bob thing going on when you're running and it feels weird. So I was actually really nervous my first day of the wipe that I was like, this kind of feels weird. But the longer I play it, the more I actually really, really like it. Maybe not the head bob. I wouldn't mind if they got rid of the head bob because that just feels weird. Did you make it into a raid? I
didn't even really notice. Yeah, I'm in an offline raid. The flashlights look much better, but it also seems much dimmer.
The flashlights? Yeah.
I'm standing over by gate 3 and like looking down.
Yeah.
Towards like Fork in that general area. It's like I see fog.
Yeah.
But again, like it isn't just a white disc in the middle of the fucking screen anymore. It definitely disperses well, but yeah, like. And
in other maps like customs or something like that, when you're outside, the moonlight actually between the moonlight and your flashlights, and it gives a purpose for, like, there are in Tarkov brighter and dimmer flashlights. Like the X400 is a laser and a flashlight, but then you can get like the Clash or whatever flashlights and they're brighter. So like now it's actually like going to make sense to maybe choose one of those for night raids or something like that. I'm
standing over by, so underneath by the dumpster by gate 3, underneath like the little overhang office thing.
Yeah.
And there's the light above, and this whole area, like you could mistake it almost for daytime.
Yeah.
Like it's without the flashlight, just the ambient.
Yeah.
Kind of lighting. Yeah, that's really interesting. Real quick, let me just show chat. It's a little bit darker, I guess, on stream, but yeah, I mean, like this.
Yeah.
Like you wouldn't know this was necessarily nighttime. Like you used to not be able to see anything like this.
And yeah, and there's still, like I said, the lighting changes feels more from a flashlight perspective than from an ambient light perspective. Like there's definitely still interchange is very similar. Like if you're still standing under the skylights, of course, you know, sometimes it'll like it looks, you know, it's like too harsh of a cutoff. But the flashlights definitely are completely different than what they used to be and actually like function like lights. So I think hopefully they continue down that path and make some of the static lights that happen on the maps disperse more naturally, I guess.
Yeah, so when you enter in on the like swamp side of Shoreline in the first floor, there's usually the fucking floodlight that just blinds you. Is that a little bit softer, or does it still completely blind you?
I haven't done a night raid on Shoreline because we went in, we shot the lights, we realized we couldn't, so we were like, screw that then. You know what I mean? Like I would have been doing only night raids on Shoreline if I could actually black out the resort. So, and then the IR flashlights work and the IR lasers work, which are sick. Also, lasers are completely different now. Lasers are brighter and stronger. It's harder to notice when if it's your laser. It was funny because like I found a flashlight earlier that was a laser. So like I slapped it on my like early AK and like 10 times a raid, Seal would be like, oh my God, that laser looks crazy. And I'd be like, dude, what do you mean? So I finally dropped my gun for him.
And you see not just the dot, the beam, but the laser, the beam.
And in daytime, it's like, it all depends on the angle you're looking at it. You can like see the beam sometimes, which is just very different for Tarkov, and it kept startling him. Nighttime, if you're using a proper laser, not an IR laser, a laser, it is like a freaking lightsaber. It is it's like a beam of light. The whole, like,
as it should have always been.
Exactly. Yeah. And it looks really, really good. So like night raids, IR lasers are a little dimmer. IR flashlights are really cool. But then if you're using a real laser, under night vision. It's like, I mean, it's like those old Call of Duty trailers. I mean, it's like literally super. It's really, really cool.
Interesting.
So the lighting is dope.
Yeah, so I know
step in the right direction, not fixed. You know what I mean? But huge step in the right direction.
We've literally already got comments in chat on either ends of the spectrum. One, yeah, I'm just being a Debbie Downer. I'm on the game. It's not the game's fault. Blah blah blah. And then on the other end, it's Jesse's just like copium defending.
yeah.
For all all he can. That the game is whatever. Both criticisms are dog shit.
Mm-hmm.
And it's somewhere. It's obviously somewhere.
Yeah.
Always somewhere in the middle. But
sure.
So I guess I'm just gonna ask the question that I'm thinking, regardless of how anybody will take it. Is there anything more meaningful? So like to me, it was in the top 50 things I cared about: lighting, first-person player movement and animations, flashlights, laser. Like none of those things fucking matter.
For sure.
So I guess
no. Yeah, the answer is no. Like
it's like the same old Tarkov with a wipe and some cool new improvements to a bunch of things.
Yeah, and I don't know. Once again, it's hard because I don't know what it takes to make those changes. You know what I mean? Like, so these changes, the changes to the movement, which we kind of like didn't get all the way into, and the changes to lighting and stuff like that weren't, in my opinion, aren't unnecessary changes. It's not like changes that they're making that are just like fluff. They're changes that I would want to see in this game before it goes 1.0. They're changes I would want to see after a bunch of other different fixes and changes. Does that make sense? So like it feels like it's not just random dumb stuff to make the game, they're not to just like polish a turd. It feels like stuff that needed to happen. It was on somebody's freaking checklist, but it's just not the most important things, or even close to the most important things. And I've been saying, I said it before the patch, and my opinion reigns true. Like, this patch will not, in my opinion, keep people any longer than any other patch. And if it's not keeping you longer, then you're probably staying shorter, right? Because like everybody's like on a downward trajectory where like the longer you play Tarkov, the less excited you are about wipes until we start seeing some of these huge things happen, like the proper AI changes, the proper networking changes, and the proper audio changes. So if you're not moving forward, you're moving backwards. And I don't think that this patch moved forward in that sense. But at the same time, there are some really cool things that I have wanted in the game for a really long time and have talked about many times. Like, how many times? Like, so that's where I'm at. It's like, how many times I've been playing Escape from Tarkov, I've clicked on a flashlight and I've been like, this is stupid. Or I've died to a guy with a flashlight and I'm like, this is stupid. So when they change that, my gut isn't going to be like, yeah, this thing that I've wanted to be changed in the game for 3 years got changed, but screw them because the AI still sucks. You know what I mean? I'm going to be like, I'm excited. This is sick. Yeah. I'm going to forget about it in 3 weeks when I get used to what the new flashlights look like, but I've wanted it in the game for 2 years. So if I'm a BSG shill and absolutely refusing to criticize the game, then A, you've never seen a podcast episode before in your life, and B, whatever, man. Like, fine. I choose to live my life with fun. You know what I mean? But it's like, I am, stuff can be two things, right? Like, people just assume. Nobody asks me if it, but see, and that's why I like talking to you, because like nobody asks me that question you asked me. Like, nobody goes like, that's cool that you like that. Do you think that that's like matters though? Because if they did,
just tell you you're wrong, or they tell you you're right.
Because I can be excited about the flashlights, and then if someone in chat was like, "That's really cool. Do you think that that's gonna like make people play the game longer?" I'd be like, "No, absolutely not." You know what I mean? Like, but I'm allowed to be excited about it. I've wanted this thing to be changed in the game for 2 years. You know what I mean? And it looks really good, and they nailed it. You know what I mean? So it's like,
yeah, for sure.
So that's what it is. It's like I went into this patch with low expectations because of kind of what the patch notes were. And then they didn't add anything to the patch notes. So I went into the wipe with even a little bit lower expectations. So when the occasional thing comes by and is like, whoa, this is nuts, I'm going to be excited about it. But that doesn't mean I think that they fixed the game or it's going to be perfect or this wipe is going to last 10 years or they can stop wiping now. Flashlights are better. It's like, I don't know how to, the other part of it is like, I'm bored of saying the same thing over and over again. Like, do you know how many times on this podcast you and I,
sounds familiar.
Yeah. Do you know how many times on this podcast you and I have both said until they make the AI actually functional, sound trustworthy, and the networking capable, until they do that, this game will suffer these exact same flaws over and over again every time. I don't want to have to qualify every praise of the game. I don't want to have to qualify every compliment to Escape from Tarkov in perpetuity with that statement. So if you assume that I'm a BSG shill, that's fine, dude. You go live your life. Those opinions have not changed with this wipe until they fix the AI, fix the sound, and fix the netcode. The 98% of the core problems of this game will remain. But when they fix other stuff, I'm going to be excited about it. You know what I mean?
With every passing day, you're getting a little bit better or worse, a little bit closer to me, which is I'm so sick of having to qualify everything with effectively. I am much more. What I'm saying is much more reasonable than you are going to take it. Yeah. And then X.
Yes.
At some point, you just need to say the game is or this patch is great or whatever, and step away, because you can't explain everything to everyone in a way that they're going to make sense. Now, I do want to put a clip in. I just noticed that I wanted to pull this up. Boopus was saying, oh, the AD strafing has gone away. This is one of those things where, yeah, the AD strafing has gone away. Yeah. But has it, it's the same. Yeah. It's the same. I'm totally blind and blurry. And now also I experienced something I haven't experienced for over 2 years, which is the weird stutter step. Oh, it's almost like maybe that's like the whole inertia and movement, but that was the most frustrating thing in the world. You're running, you see somebody, you go to pull out your gun, and you just trip over your fucking shoelace. Yeah. So that right there has been kind of my experience so far in the first 4 raids that I've played, which is like the first 7 minutes of gameplay in 4 raids, is like, it just, for me, it feels awkward and frustrating. Yeah. I don't even get to enjoy flashlights. Yeah. I haven't gotten a chance to enjoy flashlights. I haven't gotten a chance to enjoy the new volumetric lighting. I haven't even gotten a chance to see if the sound is still dog or if the AI is still dog. I haven't even gotten there yet. So. Yeah. No, I know. See, what's hard about that clip, though, is that, like, I agree. Like, I watch that clip and I see exactly what you see, where, like, that fight feels bad. But I don't know how you avoid fights like that, because in a video game, it'll always end up being that way. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you watch Apex, you watch Warzone, you watch Rainbow Six. It's like, the higher the TTK is, the more you get this just like wiggle back and forth aim battle. Like, if you watch Warzone, you know what I mean? It's just like literally everybody jumps, crouch sliding, jumps, and they go in circles until one of them has the better aim. But then if you watch a game like Rainbow Six, which is like a really low TTK, or at least it feels that way, it's more just like boom, dead, boom, dead, boom, dead. So if we want the TTK to be higher, there's no way I don't know how in a video game world you remove that type of, like, we're just going to stand here and side to side Civil War until we die. All right. Show me. Chat, what do we think he's doing? He just, what if he never came back? Okay. I want to be able to, like an actual trained PMC, walk around quickly, not slow walk, and still make enough noise as if you're crouching. Okay. Sorry, as if you're running. You're sitting there and you're slow walking, and nobody is like not hearing you, right?
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
Watch any Grand Thumb intro, and you see him, and he's fast walking, going through, shooting is controlled, even if it's a 1 or 2 shot kill. Yeah. It shouldn't be, oh god, oh god. Yeah. That's what the fights feel like.
But once again, like if we were talking about Grand Thumb moving through Factory, if he snapped to somebody, missed his 2 shots, and that dude shot a shotgun at him, Grand Thumb would fall back behind the nearest cover. Grand Thumb wouldn't just like, you know what I mean? Like, that's what I'm saying. It's like,
but that's what I'm saying. You have no ability to do that. If you go to turn, it's going to be awkward. And see, here's the thing. I haven't played Tarkov. I haven't played Tarkov in a while. So part of it is that I'm rusty. But the other part of it is that I feel like maybe it gives me a perspective separate from you're just used to Tarkov's arbitrary movement. It's not that it's gotten better or gotten worse. You've gotten more used to the way the game is. So
maybe.
Part of me feels like, and maybe this is copium, I don't know.
Yeah.
Part of me feels like I've forgotten what Tarkov movement is like, and my gut natural expectation of what it should feel like to engage in combat, it's almost completely the opposite.
Well, yeah, I mean, like, yes and no. I just think I agree with you. Like, I'm definitely not team like the movement is perfect. You know what I mean? Like, and I think there are mechanics that we've talked about in the past, and maybe we can talk about again today, that would make it feel better. I'm just saying, in a perfect world with absolute perfect movement, I would bet $1,000 fights like that would happen every day, because people just don't. People are gamers. They're not combat people. So like they'd get into a fight with somebody, and if there was no cover around them because they were, you know, careless and way out in the open, or if they just panic when they get into a fight, more people would just resort to just like keep shooting the gun, and their aim would get worse, and they would keep doing that, and they would keep doing that. And if Papega 1 and Papega 2 just kept shooting and missing, like, you know what I mean? Like, that's just going to be how fights are, even with perfect movement, in my opinion, sometimes. Now, perfect movement would mean that the people who would want to move better could move better. And I get that that's what you're saying.
What perfect movement, in my opinion, would be is it would expand the range.
Yeah.
Right now, for me, it's in this sweet spot where it's either really awkward
or
a little bit less awkward.
Yeah.
Where I want it to be.
That's a good point.
If I walk up against that guy and I hit him in the head with a shotgun shot and he shoots me in the shoulder, I want him on the ground with his helmet knocked off. I want me turning around, scrambling, running for cover.
Yeah.
I don't want this back and forth where both people are blinded by just arbitrary blurriness.
Yeah.
But
that would never happen either, though, because that would be toxic too. If you got shot and you fell over, every time you got shot by a guy that you didn't see, everything we've talked about in the past goes out the window of like wanting the game aspect of it to reward you for the skill of being able to react to that.
No, but if you get shot in the shoulder and it like, again, this is like an imaginary world that'll never happen.
Yeah.
But this is the kind of thing that I think would make it a better game. If you get shot in the shoulder while you were sprinting in the back, you fall down on one knee, realize you're in pain, get back up. And then also, if the other guy is sitting there and he's shooting from 50, 100 meters going pop, 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 and you're limping, he's not going to be shoulder shot, back shot, shoulder shot, shoulder shot, shoulder shot, head shot.
Yeah.
It's going to be miss, miss, miss. You get shot in the calf, miss. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I don't know. It just feels like combat has been narrowed down into this very specific, this is what Tarkov combat is like.
Yeah.
And if you know how to play it,
oh yeah,
then it's fine. And it's great. The movement is great. It's super awesome. But I guess I played, 4 or 5 raids, and basically every raid it was like, oh, I was reminded this is why I don't like Tarkov anymore.
Yeah. Well, has it ever not been that though?
Yeah, for the first 3 years of me playing the game.
How was the first 3 years different than that though? Like that clip.
Honestly, I couldn't tell you in words.
Yeah.
I'd have to go back and watch.
Yeah.
I'd have to go back and watch.
Because like I had mentioned before, when you did like the history of Tarkov video and you were showing some of those old clips, like it definitely looks different from today. And like the time to kill was different. And that was like a lot of the points you were making, that it like felt more skill based. It felt like you could react to something. It felt like everybody, it felt at least better in the sense that like everybody had a chance to kill somebody. If you hit a good shot, you'd win. But if you messed up, the guy with the better skill at least had the ability to then like win the fight. You know what I mean?
It's because there wasn't inertia, the movement, other than some of the bugs. Like back in the day when you used to shift W and then you would stop running and then, you know, hold your breath, shift and aim, you would have that stutter step.
Yeah.
That was when the movement was clunky. But otherwise, there was less quote unquote realism. Now, again, people are going to say, oh, but real life, you have, there's momentum and there's inertia. That right there is, in my opinion, it's back to the fucking watch my realism video. Yeah. Just because you have inertia doesn't mean that in real life, doesn't mean that you add inertia. Yeah. And everything's better. Because there's,
but I guess that's what I'm saying, though.
We all agree there's a spectrum of not enough inertia to way too much inertia, right? Make it so that it takes 4.5 years to slow down and all of it, you know. So there's a sweet spot. Yeah. Right now. But
I guess that's what I'm saying, though, is that like if you think inertia is too much, I just don't understand how like getting shot in the shoulder and you're falling over makes that better. I feel like that does the opposite. Like you were just saying, like before it was a little more gamified because there wasn't inertia, but it felt better as a result of that.
Well, because it's annoying, but unimmersively annoying. If it's going to be annoying, like if this game is about being challenging and being punishing and being hardcore and being realistic, don't make it arbitrarily challenging, arbitrarily hardcore. Yeah. Not even really. It's realistic in concept. Yeah. In principle, but not in practice. Yeah.
Well, yeah, and I think like we've talked about before, and I still think the game could benefit from it. But like the like adrenaline mechanic, where like if you get shot, your stamina bar goes to full, and you have like 3 seconds of painkiller. You know what I mean? Like something like that helps. Where if you get surprised or like in that factory fight, you shot, he didn't die, he shot back at you, you have the ability to maybe like turn and just like book it out of there without this like, you have to pick up speed because it's like right now when you turn around, it takes 3 full seconds to pick up speed. So he's just going to be like, oh, boom, 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 and you're going to die.
Back in the day, I could probably 180, jump a couple times and zigzag and have no inertia, and that would feel better. Because it was unrealistic, but at least the game was doing. Yeah. It's kind of like if you had 20 rubber bands between your steering wheel and your tires, it would just not. You ever drive a Lincoln Continental? You're like this, and your car just veers a little bit. Yeah. Yeah. There are plenty of people who drive the Lincoln Continental like it drives like a dream. I love it. And, you know, again, I'm not necessarily, maybe this is subjective. Maybe, for sure. Maybe Tarkov is just not the game for me anymore. Yeah. Maybe I'm not good enough. I'm not fast enough. Maybe I just have had enough of whatever. I don't know. But all I can say is that I literally was like, I'm going to give it a try because I want to have something to talk about. I was hoping that I was going to be like, I'm pleasantly surprised. I'm apprehensive, but I'm pleasantly surprised. And I only had an hour, which is not super fair, but at the same time, it felt like absolutely the same game, except I was a bear.
And once again, and like we said, the things that have been surprising and delighting me haven't been anywhere near the core fundamental things that I think are required to change. You know what I mean? To change the game. So with what's hard with me and the movement and the inertia, though, it's like, to be honest with you, I just don't know, Veritas. Like, I don't, like, you brought up a really good point where it's like, this game is the only game I play. And I play it all the time. So I'm used to the movement. And I don't want to play really any other game. The only other game I play, I'm flying a spaceship. So not comparable movement, right? You know what I mean? But I just don't know. And the conversation is so, not here, but like the conversation is so just like a nothing burger because everybody just says inertia. Nobody really knows what inertia is or what it means or how it's tweaked. And like, I just feel like I can't get a hold of like what people want the movement to be like because like the way it was dog trash too, in my opinion. Like, maybe not 3 years ago. Like you were saying, like, I can't speak to 3 years ago, but like the 2 wipes up to inertia were dog trash. The 80-80 around corner, the sprint free look was absolute dog water movement, in my opinion. I don't like that. I don't want to play that game.
No, I agree.
Is the movement right now? Is the movement right now perfect? I would say no.
It just swung the other direction.
Yeah, I would say no. And I don't know how. I don't know what the answer is. I don't know how these things are implemented. The answer to all the questions are just, I don't know. But like, I just don't. I guess, yeah, I just don't know what. It's so hard. It's so hard to nail down what people want. There's definitely a subjective aspect to it because a lot of people really liked the old movement. You know what I mean? Even before inertia, the crazy, ridiculous back and forth movement. So I just don't. I don't know. It's such a hard conversation for me to have because I just don't know. I don't know what people want anymore. I don't know what it should be. I don't know how to implement what it should be. I definitely don't. I definitely don't think it's perfect right now. And I get really, really frustrated when I get shot. You know, when a single buckshot pellet grazes my left arm, my stamina goes to 0, and I can do nothing but watch myself die. I don't like that either. You know what I mean? So, but it's just like it's so hard to. It's just hard to figure out where the balance should go. You know.
And I don't have the answer. Like for once, I'm gonna say I don't have the answer. What I want is to enjoy the game again.
For sure.
And I can't. I still can't. So the wipe went for what, 200 something days?
Yeah.
So basically 6 months. For much longer than the 6 months of last wipe, I was having a really hard time enjoying the game for a million different reasons. One of them just being combat felt like and then for the last 3 months, I haven't played Tarkov at all, not a single day.
Yeah.
And we were all expecting a lot over the 6 months ago. I guess having such a bad experience for so long, and then taking 3 months off, and everybody having the hype of the wipe, and then having 750,000 people all come in being kids to me saying, what happened to your Tarkov career? And I'm actually kind of annoyed and in a mood right now just because I've been in the Tarkov category for 2 hours now, and it went from being the only people who were toxic and to me were the 3 people a day that would come in and say some negative about me playing a different game, and now it's 70% of the people that mention me is.
But no offense, man. Hey, I love you, but you're actually insane, and I hate everything you're saying. But no offense.
You remind me of yourself and everything, dude. But
no offense.
But you're being way too critical about the game, man. Take a step back. No, you know what? I've got 10,000 hours in the game.
Yeah.
If I want to say the game feels like dog, and I don't know why, on my own podcast, that's my prerogative.
Yeah.
I know plenty of people are going to be fucking mad at me in the comments and in chat.
For sure.
So many people in the community are dickheads, and so many issues in the game have been there forever and are still a problem, and it still doesn't feel good enough for someone who has 10,000 hours in the game to have any desire to play it or to fake like they enjoy it for any amount of money or viewers or subscribers or anything like that. And absolutely, I'm so fucking glad for you that it's feeling. There are a lot of things that are feeling good.
Yeah.
All of the. I wish that there were no negatives, and I wish there was an infinite amount of positives for you. And I'm stoked. I'm not trying to say you're wrong.
Oh no, and I don't think it that way at all. No, exactly.
Unless they go and say the AI is the best it's ever been.
Yeah.
And
sound is fixed.
The best they've ever been. Then by all means, let's have a conversation about that. But when it comes to something like movement, it's subjective. When it comes to something how combat feels, we're talking about feeling.
Yeah, 100%.
It's subjective, right?
100%.
All I can say is that I actually tried to give the game a try. I had one good raid, and the only reason why it went good is because I had a 12 gauge, faced a bunch of dudes with pistols that never saw or heard me, that probably weren't even wearing headphones, and they weren't wearing any armor.
That's what's really hard too, is that The lens we're both looking at how the movement feels through is not being able to hear people dying behind walls and the AI taking 3 shots to the face, spinning around, chugging vodka, and then shooting us in the head. You know what I mean? Like, so that's what's hard too about the movement. And that's like, now, once again, we've had the conversation many times on the podcast where the AI, especially things like netcode, these things might be hugely monumentous things that take years to fix. And so it's like, we don't want them to do nothing while they're fixing those things. So we need them to add things. But what's hard is that everything, I look through everything through that lens, just knowing that the sound is super jank, knowing the AI is in a really bad spot, and knowing that the netcode is rough. So it's like really hard to say how combat would feel if you could trust those things. You know what I mean? It's hard to say how the movement, I'm not saying that that's like an excuse, and I'm definitely not saying that it's perfect right now. What I'm saying is like the conversation is always pushed through those lenses because that's all we have, right? That's the only game we have
Plus
to play.
Push through our personal
bias,
opinion and experience and bias.
For sure.
Like there are already people in chat saying, I can't believe you're discounting everybody's opinion and you're being so critical of the game and it's unfair.
Yeah.
There's been 3 fucking idiots in chat in the last 45 seconds that listened to my rant and they had the stream muted. They just saw me waving my arms and they assumed what I said.
Yeah.
And I had to fucking ban them because for my fucking mental health, I have not felt once in the last 90 days. I haven't.
Yeah.
I stopped going to therapy because my fucking therapist said, wow, since you stopped playing Tarkov, you basically don't have any fucking problems anymore.
Yeah.
And now here I am. My pulse is 150 and my blood pressure's through the goddamn roof because all I want to say is, as a gamer, I fucking hate this game, which we all say all the time.
For sure.
I don't hate the game.
Yeah, of course.
But I want people to smash my desk and say, I fucking hate this game, and have it not be like, dude, as a pillar of the community, you need to have more critical thinking and common sense. You need to be more. Now, you. I get triggered by the same things that everybody else does.
Yeah.
People need to be a little bit more empathetic, use their brains a little bit more, understand. Put yourself in my shoes, just like I'm putting myself in Jesse's shoes, and everybody that's come in and said everything along the spectrum about what I'm not telling anybody they're wrong.
No, and that's the thing is that like those people are often the ones that tweet out Tarkov's a dog trash game, and it's like you want critical thinking. Well, we like literally have 111 episodes of documented critical thinking on the game where we've talked about issues, why what's understandable from the BSG side, what's pretty hard to understand from the BSG side, what's frustrating, what's like, you know what I mean? Like
we've both been chills and we've both been brain dead critical assholes.
100%, multiple times. So it's like we have that documented that you can go listen to. So exactly, like if you come in and you
I don't
hear
think anybody's called you a brain dead critical asshole, but
no,
that's more often than not.
No, but that's what's weird is
more often than,
I do, but that's what's weird is that like if you go back and watch certain podcasts, like I am a brain dead critical. Like I'm incredibly critical of the game. I'll be on the podcast. I'm so willing to say that like this is inexcusable. This is stupid, and we're not done yet. Like there are things in this episode that like I have notes of that I was like, this has been really disappointing to me. So it's funny. It's like, it's just like in general, while I'm doing something, I choose to like enjoy it and pick the things out. So if I'm playing the game and I die to desync, I'm gonna get frustrated. But I don't want to dwell on the desync. I want to dwell on what's positive because that's for my mental health, right? Like I wouldn't stream. I wouldn't have a job. I would not.
And that's why I'm not going to play Tarkov.
Exactly. So it's like people come in the chat and they're like, oh, well, you're just a shill. You know what I mean? It's like, dude, watch an episode of the podcast. I'm very willing. It's just context for me. If I'm in it, if I have the game open and I'm playing it, I'm trying to draw on what's positive. I'm trying to keep the chat vibes high. We're trying to move on because we're having fun and we're just doing the thing. But we're in the podcast. I'm very willing to say like, this is dumb or this is inexcusable or this is hard for me to understand or frustrating. You know what I mean? Like,
dude, just ignore. You just have to ignore it. You have to let them be in your chat and sit and criticize you and then cause flame wars in your chat because you can't ban them. Otherwise, you're a thin-skinned, arrogant kid.
Yeah.
And you can't answer them. Otherwise, you're a thin-skinned, arrogant kid.
Yeah.
So what you have to do is ignore them and then let them ruin the experience for you and everybody
else. Yep. Yeah. No.
Man, being a content creator can be great sometimes, huh?
Dude, screw that. So, anyways, the movement in Tarkov, I would love for you to like hop into some offline raids and just run around, because we kind of like, we moved away from this earlier. I was talking about it. At first, I was like, this feels weird because you get a little like head bobby and it's weird. However, the more I play, the more I feel like, I don't know how to describe it. Inertia doesn't feel like tweaked as far as like the amount of inertia, but it feels better. Like this, in my opinion, this would have been like a better tier 0 of inertia, because like, you know how before, this is what always got me about like inertia, you know, realism or whatever. It's like you'd have a backpack full of loot on and you would stop moving. You'd let go of your W input. And your character model would stop the running. You know, you wouldn't hear the footsteps, but you'd slide.
Yeah.
And it's like, what is that supposed to be, right? Like, you know what I mean? I don't automatically get Heelys on when I stop. You know what I mean? I'd fall over or I wouldn't fall over. Those are the two options. Nobody's ever just broken the law of physics and flat-footed slid across the ground. So, like, you don't really do that anymore. So the movement feels... like, it's hard to describe. It feels more like grounded. Like, I feel like my feet plant on the ground. And I feel like when I stop, it just, instead of stopping and sliding me, I stop. And then if I hit W again, it just doesn't let me move yet. Does that make sense? And then it's like a slower thing. Or if I'm hitting W and I let go of W, I stop, my character stops. But then if I immediately hit S, it's just like, it lengthens that. So it doesn't necessarily make... like, the result of it isn't that, like, there's less inertia, but the inertia feels like human being inertia and not, like, you know, minion inertia, where, like, physics don't matter anymore. You know what I mean?
So I will say I did not do any running around except for that one clip.
Yeah.
And I experienced the trip over my shoelaces.
Yeah.
So to me, I felt in the short time I played, people were like, I really like the lean changes. And it was like, kind of felt the same. The weapon retention stuff felt the same. It felt like I'd level 1 fucking everything slow and sluggish, but not... honestly, it felt identical to me. Other than I get flashbacks to that old stutter step bug. I don't know if, like I said, I don't know if that's a bug, if that's like weird shift binding, or if that's some change they made, but I didn't notice it better or worse.
Yeah. So it just feels more like grounded. Now, I think it could still be adjusted. And I think, like you said, maybe the pendulum did swing a little too hard from the 80, you know, wipes. But it feels more grounded. Third person, it looks amazing, by the way. Once again, whoever, I don't know if it's Kiba or whoever's their animators, dude. The running looks good. The crouching looks good. The leaning looks good. It just... third-person animations look really, really good. They just like... now, once again, when we're talking big picture here, who cares? But it's just cool, and they look good.
Yeah.
What's weird...
no, I mean, I from what I've seen from clips and from everything, the movement looks a lot smoother, and the animations look really good.
So good. And
I 100%. Now, I haven't gone on Shoreline and tried to do the Shooter Born in Heaven through a 6X.
Oh,
so
yeah.
Honestly,
which is the real tell-all. Yeah.
My expectation is, honestly, I bet you it's probably the best it's ever been, if I had to guess.
Yeah.
That would be my assumption just based on what I've seen.
Yep. And they did some weird things where, like, so, like, if you're standing and you hit E to lean, they made the lean a little bit slower. And, like, I don't know what the angles were, but let's say before you leaned at a 45-degree angle, it feels like you lean at, like, a 35-degree angle now. So it feels like they're not as, like, really extreme and back and forth. It feels like there's a little bit more weight to it. They're more subtle. The, like, Like, Alt D, the ones where you actually step out, they look really good, where your character actually like puts a foot, plants it, moves around. So they look really good.
Tower just said long range shooting on moving targets significantly easier. Like, that's huge. And I trust if Tower says it, I totally believe him.
Yeah.
Now
here's what's weird. The movement, from what I've experienced, especially with my teammates. So you know how, so if the baseline is how Tarkov's been for the past few wipes, where like with the wipe where you were like, Jesse, just look at me moving around, and it was like
a router that you've unplugged the Ethernet cord halfway and spilled apple juice on.
Yes. If that's the baseline, Tarkov today is 80% 10 times better than that, and 20% worse. But there is no in between. Does that make sense? So most of the time, that's gone. And you're like, the movement is incredible. And every once in a while, you're like, what is happening? Like the little tiny micro rubber banding is a good way to put how it used to be. Like that times 5. It's like, I'm like, Velian, what are you doing? And it's like bad.
And that's not just at the beginning of raids?
No.
Because last time we talked, actually, I think this was maybe before the wipe, but after they made some like networking fixes. Yeah. You described, you're like, I'm not seeing it during raids, mostly seeing that at the beginning of raids. And I, in the back of my head, was like, my prediction is that the more time we have with this, plus all of the smoothing and all that stuff, it's almost definitely, and maybe this is just me like thinking the worst, expecting the worst, hoping for the best. Like I'd much rather be like, I was right, than be like expecting the best and then get disappointed. Of course. But that to me makes perfect sense, because they didn't sort out, I can almost guarantee you, they didn't sort out the real root cause of the issue, which I talk about in my netcode issue, or my netcode video.
Yeah.
And if anything, there's going to be more issues that might make it even worse.
Yeah. So I have no idea. Once again, not a network professional, and that's only my experience. The vast majority of the time, and all the way up to the end of raids, I played with Sealable and Velian, and we're in a raid till 5 minutes left, and I'm literally like setting up shots where I'm like moving the camera, and I'm just like letting them walk, because I'm like, man, these animations look good. So it's like super clean most of the time, really good, 10 out of 10, knock it out of the park. But then it's just like, what's happening? Where like one of us is just like in the matrix, and you're like, I don't know what's going on here. I don't think I can remember a time where I was looking down at Optic and my enemy was like that really bad. I feel like most of the time I'm just looking at Velian or Seal and being like, what the hell's going on? So that's,
you get the shooter born in heaven and some of those 100-meter, kills and whatever. Then you'll have to update me there.
Which speaking of shooter born in heaven, another micro positive is they've made some changes to the quests that I think are pretty cool. Some of them, okay, well, this one, Shooterborn in Heaven is a controversial change.
Oh god, they changed it again.
They added Lighthouse. They didn't substitute Lighthouse. They added Lighthouse. So now it's 5 maps, and they made the shots 125 meter, not 100 meter.
Wait, that's it?
That's it. I like that personally. People are freaking out about it. I like it. It's sniping. You know what I mean? Shooterborn in Heaven has been one of my favorite quests for the past few wipes. I just think it's a well-made quest in the sense that there's no quest hidden behind it, and you get the quest early.
Wait, so that's the criteria for a well-made quest?
No. I've always thought the purpose of the quest was great. Like, it's Shooterborn in Heaven. It's a sniper quest. Like, here's the thing about the quests. You don't have to do them. Right?
Well, I mean, that's new, though. To be fair, that's new. It used to be you had to do it. It was a blocker.
But but that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying is that, like, I always thought that was a good quest. I like the concept of, if we're going to have 275 quests in the game, if we're going to have a sniper quest, make it hard. Make it a hard sniper quest. My problem with well-executed but difficult quests is when you get them and they block you from doing anything else. Like Grenadier, when you get that and you can't, like, you get that super late in the game, so any of the grenade kills you got early don't matter. And then you can't do the other 3 quests locked behind it. So everybody goes to factory with impact nades because they want to get grenadier done, right?
I wish it would just count your like stats screen grenade.
100%. If they gave that to you as early as they gave you Shooterborn in Heaven, and then, you know, Insomnia and Test Drive are the quests you need to be like level 40 to even do, it would be fine. Everybody would have it, or at least they'd have close, and then they'd only need a few more. So Shooterborn in Heaven, in my opinion, is in a perfect spot. Like, I have Shooterborn in Heaven 3 days into the wipe. I know I played a lot more than people, but like, you only need to get through a few mechanic tasks to get Shooterborn in Heaven, and there's nothing locked behind it. So like, I'm glad that it's hard if that's how it's going to be set up. You know what I mean? If you get it early and there's nothing blocked behind it, I think it's cool to have a few hard quests. You know what I mean?
Now, do you think, I mean, I don't know if we've talked about this specific thing or not. I know I've talked about it personally ad nauseum and had a video 3 years ago, somewhere between 2.5 and 3 years ago, about why it was one of my quintessential bad quests, in that the lore of the quest doesn't match the requirements.
Yeah.
The requirements are not even remotely realistic. I would much rather have it be 150 or 200 meters if it wasn't headshots.
Mm-hmm.
Let me, like, a sniper, correct me if I'm wrong, but is a sniper going to be aiming for headshots on like moving targets? Maybe if it's like the old Call of Duty, there's the guy with 2 guards standing there at the podium, like the president of some country.
Yeah.
You know, okay, headshot him, right? Because you want to make a fucking public statement in front of the whole world while the president of, you know, Krakosia or whatever. Is,
Krakosia.
But
yeah.
But with all of the, again, there's a bunch of things around. People talk about realism. It doesn't. Realism doesn't really apply there. Then you want to talk about zeroing and the bullet velocity and all those other issues make it even worse.
Yeah.
In the past, you had to talk about netcode and all the jittery movement, which
sure.
made it worse. It's always been, in my opinion, in so many ways bad. You can make it challenging.
Yeah.
And make it, I think you can maintain the same amount of challenge, or maybe even make it more challenging, but potentially improve it.
I wouldn't be opposed to that. I wouldn't be opposed to it would be just kills at that distance. And then maybe even there was like, because you know how some quests have like, you have to do this and optionally you can like turn in this key, but you don't have to turn in that key to like complete the quest. You know what I mean? Like if they made it where like there was an option where like for every headshot kill, you got like plus 1,000 XP from the quest. You know what I mean? So like if you hit headshots for all 15 kills, it was like plus 15,000 XP. But if you didn't, you still completed the quest. Like that would be kind of cool. But like, I don't know. We enter into a weird territory where if we change the quests because of the bad netcode, then when they fix the netcode, the quests are bad. So it's like, I like the quest. I think the quest is made better with better netcode. I think the quest is made better with better optics. I think the quest is made better with better zeroing. But I like the quest, and I always have, and it feels better now. Lighthouse, in my opinion, makes sense. Lighthouse is like sniper the map, you know what I mean? Like people are hitting 1,200 meter rogue headshots, you know what I mean? So like Lighthouse is a great addition, and the distance is going to be frustrating, but like once again, you only have to do that quest if you want Kappa, which immediately means 99% of the players don't have to do it, and you get it early.
Yeah, so one of the things Tower just said, push the distance out to 250 meters, body shots, you get a bonus for headshots. Like, in my opinion, those tweaks instantly have made it better. Now, I would much rather have it be 10. Even I would rather it be body shots, but I would even rather have it be 10 headshots on only Lighthouse.
Oh, yeah.
Because getting up on that fucking... up on the giant mountain or on like the front porch looking out over the street, like that's a map where like a Shoreline, you're not going to get Shooterborn in Heaven anywhere on Shoreline other than the spawns, the exfils, which are basically the spawns, or you just get lucky if there happens to be someone running 100-something meters in some direction. But it's the most open map and nobody goes anywhere except for they spawn and then they run to the resort. Customs is very much the same way.
Customs is going to be rough for 100.
You know how many shots I've gotten that were 95 meters or whatever, and it's like, well, the only thing I could have done is jump on the box behind me, because I literally went from one window to another window in a building, you know, so there's just so many things that make it really annoying and frustrating.
For sure.
I think we can have our cake and eat it too.
I agree. Yeah, I agree. And
I think that would be harder.
Me saying I like
headshots.
Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say I think it would be harder getting 10 headshot kills from long distance on Lighthouse.
Yeah.
But it would be better and more enjoyable. So it's not that hard is what makes it bad. It's arbitrarily hard, like most of the Jaeger quests.
Yeah.
And the fact that it always bothered me that they spend all this time writing this fucking paragraphs of lore text that sometimes have some hints put in there, but most of the time what they're trying to convince you of and immerse you in doesn't match at all. Like last I remember, Mechanic said, you need to prove that you can adapt with different gear in different situations. Show me what kind of shooter you are. And it's like, yeah, I don't know. Like, to me, what he described, it's not a sniper quest necessarily. If you want a sniper quest, there's a million sniper quests. But what he at least describes to you, what he wants you to prove, the description I gave in the video that I did like 3 years ago was kill Killa with an SMG. Kill a PMC when you have like a 10x scope on any map, anywhere. Like if you have a 10x scope, as long as they can make it so that you have to be like aiming through the scope. Which again, like, I don't know if they can do it or not. It shouldn't be difficult for them to do, but it would probably be difficult for them to do. But you're not going to do that on Factory. Like all of the quests where you have the M1 and you need the NVG, sorry, not the NVGs, like the thermal. I just go into Factory, put a laser on, and I hip fire. So, but again, it was a bunch of quests where it was like, I want you to have these specific goals, but with a lot of open-ended criteria.
Freedom
Kill
for
Killa with an SMG means you're going to build a close quarters gun. You have the freedom to use whatever gun or caliber either is available to you or that you have, but you can build the gun however you want.
100%.
Those are better gunsmith tasks rather than build it and give it to me. Build it and get a kill with it. And not have it be this gun with this exact attachment and this exact laser and this exact hand grip. Those are the ways in which I think the quests could be improved.
I agree.
Let people do,
and once again,
different things.
That's why I like Shooter Born in Heaven. It's not a perfect quest. It's just one of my favorites because it's kill people. I have gotten Shooter Born in Heaven headshots with a shotgun and AP-20. I hit a 103-meter headshot with a shotgun with AP-20. I've hit them with iron sight Mosins. I've hit them with March Tacticals. That's why I like it, because every other quest in the game is like shoot your own self in the leg, wait till you get a tremor, go to Factory, and then shoot 2 people on the head. Everything else is just cheeseball. You know what I mean? So like,
now it's one of the less bad quests.
Use any gun, use any scope on anywhere on these maps, and hit headshots. You know what I mean? Don't find this thing that's only found in raid if you die, or if this or that, or you can craft this, or like, oh, we don't want this to be found in raids, but you can just buy the things and then wait for the quest and do this, or go kill scavs without armor. Like, when those are the quests we have, a quest where it's like, just go out and shoot people from really far away. Bet. I like that quest. It can be better. I'm not saying it can't be better. I'm just saying I like that quest because it feels like it gives me the most freedom, and it's the least absolute cheese ball of just like running in. Exactly. You want to do Insomnia, Night Vision? Just go Factory. You want to do Test Drive, the thermal one? Just go Factory. You want to do Grenadier? Just go Factory. You want to get your Tremor headshots? Just go Factory. Here's an immersive quest. Take a sniper rifle and kill 3 people from 20 meters away or less. Where should we do that? How about Factory? So like the quest that's like, go kill people from super far away, and that's the only requirement. I'm like, I'm okay with that.
So how do you feel about the dehydration quest?
Yeah, it's stupid. I mean, it's not. I don't feel anything about it. It's arbitrary. I go into woods. I drink some mayo. 5 minutes later, I hear the ding. I drink some water, and I just continue my quest. I don't feel that's good.
It was I mean, once again, this is subjective, but would you say it's a good quest or a bad quest?
It's a nothing quest. I don't.
Okay.
Like I have no feelings for it, and therefore
I thought that was going to be an easy one.
Therefore, probably a bad quest.
Are there any quests that you think are like really bad or that you hate? I guess what I'm trying to square the circle of the fact that you enjoy Shooterborn in Heaven. I guess we're kind of going back to what we talked about. Like, I want more of Jesse enjoying different aspects of the game.
Yeah.
Like, absolutely. But there's always the but, right?
Yeah.
What am I trying to say? It's almost like that doesn't, just because someone hates it doesn't make it bad, and just because someone loves it doesn't make it good.
Make it good. Yeah.
So that's why I suppose like maybe my like saltiness is just that for so long I've seen the potential.
Yeah.
That, and I genuinely think that like if I were to come up with an alternative that met the criteria that I think,
yeah,
I think I could come up with one that you would like just
for
as
sure.
much, if not more.
No,
that would
I agree.
Be...
Like I said, there's a better way to do Shooterborn in Heaven. But in my opinion, any shred of effort going into making Shooterborn in Heaven better should be spent making the stupid quests better. Because Shooterborn in Heaven is at least a passable quest. It's at least a doable quest, and there are quests that are stupid.
Yeah, but here's the thing. What made it the worst quest in the game, what transferred it from worst quest in the game to not stupid, was that it's no longer a blocking quest. They didn't change the quest. They just made it so that you're not forced to do the quest that a lot of people or most people don't like.
I disagree that it's a bad quest, though. I once again, my opinion when it was a blocker quest was that it was a good quest positioned poorly, just like Grenadier. Grenadier's a fine quest. Like, I can see that being part of the lore. Like, hey, go kill some people with grenades, or we've got all these, we want you to use them, or whatever. Like, I don't care. Like, that's a fine quest, whatever. Give it to me early. Don't put anything behind it. And that's a fine, perfectly fine quest. That's an adequate quest. You know what I mean? So it's like...
But you don't, but the thing is that you don't have that.
What do you mean?
So, like, it's not early. You don't get any credit for it previously. So I guess, like, Shooterborn in Heaven for me is the same way in that, like... So I didn't like where it was. And when you explained to me that they effectively made it worse, in my opinion, they made it longer and then they added another map.
Oh,
so
yeah.
It's more to do.
It's definitely harder.
That to me is like, it's not even harder. Like 25 meters on most of the maps isn't going to make a huge difference. It's just more annoying, I guess, is at least what it felt like to me. Like they were already in a bad spot. They took the time, someone was paid to make a change. And in my opinion, it went the wrong way, which is another thing. Maybe I'm just salty, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. But it's like, oh God, fucking really? Like I want to hear more things. When you explain the flashlights, I was like, dope. I just went into the raid and I was like, this looks dope.
Yeah.
There are still some things that 8 out of 10 of the criteria are better. It's still like, no, it's a little foggy and I can't really see super far away, but everything else about it is great. And I'm excited to hear more about that. And so far it's been like a bunch of, and again, this isn't you.
No, for sure.
But yeah, God, I've heard a bunch of things that are kind of like, oh, disappointing.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Well, like I said, dude, the patch, it's a weird mixed bag that's hard to nail down. I think the quest thing is, like Shooterborn in Heaven is definitely harder. I think Customs is going to be really hard. Customs was the one that was hard to get 100-meter shots. You know what I mean? Like, in general, I agree with what you're saying. Where, like, on Lighthouse, it'll be fun. On Shoreline, I actually think it'll still be fun. On Reserve, up at the Dome or whatever, there's plenty of 100. On Customs, there will be 3 YouTube videos, and they will all say the exact same spot, where it's like from here to here is 100. Like, you're on the train, RUAF, where everybody extracts, that's 125 meters, just wait. And because that's going to be the only way to do it. It's going to be so hard to get those kills naturally on Customs. You know what I mean? It's going to be... I got Shooterborn in Heaven done on Shoreline last wipe a week after I got the quest without even trying. I just like optics, and I like shooting people, and 100 meters on Shoreline was perfect. 125 might be harder, but Customs, I never get them naturally, right? Because it's just so much harder to find that naturally. So I agree. I'm not saying it's a perfect quest. And like I said, I'm talking about what it was prior. This is definitely harder. 3 additional kills, 25 additional meters. Like, I think it might be a pretty brutal quest, but it's just like, I just think there are far worse quests than Shoot 'em Born in Heaven.
Oh, no. You're absolutely right. I just remember the 6 weeks it took me to get the final kill. I don't know if did you ever see the clip of me
Shoreline?
at water on Shoreline looking up to the roof? Dude. That was over a month of trying to get a single headshot. And granted, it was a different game play because there was just much less people playing, and so there's still some PTSD left over there.
For sure.
Where it's like that you're at the whim. You're just at the whim of RNG. Sometimes it's completely out of your control.
Yeah.
And then also sniping, I really wish, and I don't know what it would take. I think maybe it would take sniping to be this. At the same time, I want it to be like harder and more skill based. But like, I feel like they could go different directions in both ways. So one, when I'm sitting there like on a ledge against a bush, prone, and I'm like, I'm fucking American, and I just get one tapped by someone, it's like, how did they see me?
For sure.
How is it even possible? And yet when I'm running and I'm getting shot at, all I see is pixels, and it's like, where am I getting? So I never feel hidden, and I'm always getting shot by people who are hidden. Now maybe everybody's got their graphic settings turned down so they don't see fucking leaves or whatever, but then at the same time, I would love it if on both sides of it, if when you hit shift, it wasn't a perfectly static crosshair, because it's like one of those things, like you have this perfectly static crosshair, which is great. It makes it easier, but then the ballistics are in many ways unpredictable, and the zeroing is a little bit confusing, and it's almost like make it a little bit harder, but then make the movement smoother, which I think they've done. So I think that's a step in the right direction. But sniping to me has just never felt amazing. Because I almost never get a chance to shoot anybody when I'm just waiting. I'm either waiting and I'm prone and I don't see anybody, or I'm waiting and I'm prone and I die to someone I don't see.
Yeah.
You never get the old school things where someone's running and you're like, oh, lining up your shot and you're looking at your zeroing, right? Like that to me is sniping. Sniping isn't a lot of I think the feeling of what,
because people don't play woods, dude. I get that all the time.
Oh, and apparently they made muzzle flash changes, so now it's
I actually
much
didn't
easier to
know
see,
that. So that's
which is another improvement that I think will make it. Now I don't know if you have flash hiders and or suppressors, if that will get rid of it.
Yeah.
And then the meta will just be use those, unless they're rare.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's an interesting thing. I've been ranting too much. I want to hear more. I want to hear more about what they've done.
So they made changes to a bunch of quests, some really like frustrating, some whatever, some okay. Like certain ones, like the debut quest, the very first quest used to be you had to kill 5 scavs on customs and then turn in the 2 shotguns.
I got it on factory. I was like, what?
Now it's just kill 5 scavs, which is like that's good, because now people were going everywhere. You know what I mean? Like people were going interchange to start getting hideout stuff, killing their scavs. Me and Seal went woods for like the first 10 raids of the wipe. So that was a lot better. They made certain things, like they made test drive. Like test drive is the one where you have to use the M1A with the Reap.
People are already on that?
No, but people data mined all the stuff.
Oh, okay. I was like, God, really?
So they made that kill 5 people or whatever with the Reap IR and the M1A except factory, which is just such a like arbitrary, but don't do it over there. You know what I mean? Which is fine,
dude.
But that's what everybody did.
Why do they do this to me? Like, they can't make me not be Scrooge.
Exactly.
Like that's a change that was an arbitrary bad one.
Yeah.
If debut, it was annoyingly restrictive for what it was, because everybody was going customs and it was like cancerous. But it made sense in the lore. It was like, there are hobos hanging out at the construction site.
Yeah.
So I think the quest would be infinitely better if everyone there was a randomized pool. Some people had construction sites. Some people were like, go take up the hobos in the
woods,
factory.
or on factory.
Or over by the whatever, the scav place on woods. Like, that is a change that is pretty small. They already have dynamic quests that pull things from a fucking Mad Libs pool. That's a quest that it is in no way worse and is instead better. You know what I mean? So I hate that. I hate that every time I hear some of these things, I'm like,
dude, I know.
It could have been so. It had so much potential.
You just wait, bro. You just wait. Apparently, they also changed insomnia, which is kill 20 PMCs at night, except factory. Which makes that makes no sense to me, because it's like you could make an argument that like they changed Punisher Part 6 last wipe to accept factory because the SVD is a sniper rifle. It's not a CQC gun. So like you could make, once again, I even thought that change was kind of lame, but you can make an argument that like you're not using the equipment the way it was designed and we want the quest to be about sniping, so don't go factory. You can make an argument that for test drive, you have a thermal and a sniper and a DMR suppressed. You're not using the equipment the way it was meant. This quest is kill people at night. I've got my flashlight on my gun. I'm ready for night. Or I've got my NVGs. I'm still risking it. Like, what? It's nighttime on factory. Like, what do you mean except on factory? It's nighttime. It's nighttime. What do you want from me? It's nighttime. Like, I don't
know what they want.
You know what I mean?
And this is what half of the comments are already. But what they're trying to do is make it so that there's a reason for people to play night raids, and so that it's going to fill up the night raids, and then you're going to get more out of your IR lasers and your flashlights. And okay, so now you're forcing people indirectly to do a thing that they've never wanted to, never have any motivation to do. Well, some people like night raids
for sure,
but
and a lot of people have been
complaining for years. I remember that was something that Clean used to talk about a lot, and I kind of agreed with them that there's no reason to go night because most of the time it's dead, or but insert whatever reason.
They should have at least attempted to let their NVG change stand on its own 2 feet, because I am hyped to do more night raids this wipe because the NVGs don't look like dog nuts, bro. Like, you know, but
they don't want you to go factory.
You know, the super cheap, like 20,000 ruble green NVGs, and they were just, it was like noise. Like, you know what I mean? And by noise, like photography noise. It was just noise. You couldn't see anything. They're impeccable now. Like, I will send you a clip after this of me on factory with those NVGs, and you'll be like, there's no way those aren't the quad nods. Like,
do you have to turn your post effects off, or does it work with the post effects on?
I have my post, like, I didn't change my post effects.
I used to have to toggle it off because I couldn't see anything.
My post effects are pretty light as is, but I didn't change them. I just let them rip. Dude, it looks so good. So now the cheap night vision, same with the blue ones. The blue one that attaches to the like strap, you can't wear a helmet, but there's the blue. Those look so good now. So like now the cheap and available night vision that you can get from like level 2 Peacekeeper is like as good as the quad nods were last wipe, if not better. Obviously the FOV is shrunk, but like it's clear and it looks good. So they could have just like let that stand on its own 2 feet, see if that pushed people into more night raids because they're going to be cheap and you know what, but like, and now it's just like, no, you can't go back. So I don't know. It was definitely weird.
Well, so here's the thing. I would love it if they don't require or punish people to do things that they don't want to do. Incentivize them to do the things, right?
Yeah.
Like make it so that there's a higher spawn chance of X loot, or there's more money in scav pockets at night because they feel safer, or maybe some loot like I don't know, cigarettes or something is only spawns at night.
Yeah.
Give me a reason to go night. Don't just say you have to go night.
Another reason that the cultists was a absolute airball missed opportunity, because like, instead of using this immaculate opportunity to incentivize people to go night to encounter this crazy enemy that has pretty dope loot, they made it the hardest enemy in the game with the most backwards lore-breaking AI in the game. They only spawn at night, where your requirement is to risk additional thing for no other benefit. You just might run into the most broken AI in the game. That's the only thing in Night Raid. So like that would have been its own incentive. If the cultists had the dope loot, but they didn't spawn all the time, but they tried to stab you more often, and so like when you came across them, as long as you were kind of staying frosty, you'd probably beat them. It would be sick. You know what I mean?
But then everybody, all they would do is just farm it and blah blah blah. Okay, well I guess then there must be nothing we can do. Let's just say you have to go night 50 raids in a row.
Exactly. All right. However, we can talk about some of the other things really quickly. The movement, the lighting feels good. Even on interchange, it feels better. Not 100%, but it feels better. Like the lighting feels better on interchange. Lighthouse. Okay, so Lighthouse, they did some interesting things. So the biggest concern I had for this wipe was rogue farming. Because we've talked about many times where like it just became this min-maxy, like, you know what I mean? Some of the best guys were going in with absolutely nothing and a VPO with a scope. You know, they were going in with 50,000 ruble kits, and they could 9 out of 10 times, as long as they didn't run into PvP, come out with 14 rogue kills and all the loot, right? Like, you know what I mean? Like, and when 12-12 happened, none of us knew how to do that because Lighthouse was new, and it took everybody like a month or two to figure out how to do that. But now I was like, yo, this is going to be bad, dude. This is going to be really, really bad. But
I can't tell if you're going to be like, and it was,
no,
or you're going to say, but it's been great.
It's not as bad. It's not necessarily great, but it's not what I wanted. Well, it's not what I expected, which would have been bad. Okay. They reduced the spawn chance of each of the individual groups of rogues. So like there's the group that spawns by the helicopter. There's the group that spawns down under the building 2, which is the north building by the train station. And then there was, 2 on this building, 2 on top of this building, 3 on top of this building. Now you can get it where like maybe there's only 1 on top of the building, and he'll rotate to whichever gun he hears combat from. So like if you're shooting over there, he'll like move to this gun and try and shoot you, but there might only be 1 up there.
Is there still really good loot there, or?
Yeah. And then the ones that spawn down below on the bottom, I think they can spawn in smaller groups as opposed to always 4, and they spawn less frequently. And I don't know about the loot. I don't know how good the loot is in the water treatment plant compared to what it was before. I found a few things there. It doesn't feel as good. Last wipe, on like day 3 of the wipe, I was walking out of scav raids with like 2 Vertexes, 3 VPXs, the military COFDMs, pro kills. Like day 3 of the wipe, I was coming out with that. And it hasn't been that way. They opened up so that you can now go on top of all the buildings, which is sick. You can actually go to the roof, and there's loot up there, and you can loot the rogues up there when you kill them. Obviously, you're like crazy exposed to the mountains, you know what I mean, if you're up there, but it's...
Now, see, that's another reason why Shooterborn in Heaven on Lighthouse is dope, because you could post up there for people coming to farm rogues, or you could post up on the mountain to post up on the dudes who are posted up.
Yes.
Make it 300 meters. You know how many fucking 250, 300 meter shots I made on the rogues there?
Yeah, exactly.
If someone's sniping, they are static. You're then rewarded for really paying attention to knowing you're zeroing and knowing the round. But when you're constantly using like different guns, different zeroing, different rounds, different optics, there's like just way too much for anybody to get, used to, and there's mostly no point.
Yeah.
That would be sick.
And then they opened up a few of the rooms, like in those buildings, those big buildings, like you would just walk by doors that are openable now. Like, and there's like 3 rooms back there, like with medical loot or whatever. So like they made the water treatment plant pretty cool by adding that stuff. The train station behind the water treatment plant?
Is that where the drug lab is?
Yes, that's where the drug lab is.
I saw Gummerack had a YouTube short.
A freaking Connex container, and you just go into this drug lab. It's so sick.
You see like the blue lights or whatever, and the hydroponic.
Yep. And then
that's pretty dope.
And then the lighthouse area is open. There is really no reason to go out there right now. There's pretty good loot, but like you're running
mega exposed.
Yeah, you're running across the bridge. I mean, once you get across, you're not exposed at all. There's tons of cover and buildings and stuff like that, and it's cool. It's sick. it's classic Tarkov map design. All the stuff out there is really cool. It feels real. It feels like this is, you know, the garage and the buildings and the bedrooms, and like it feels so sick. But until they bring the Lighthouse Trader in, you know what I mean? I don't know. There's no real value in like spending time out there.
Have you seen smoke grenades? Have they made any changes to smoke grenades? Because once again, that would be something like you want to go to Lighthouse, you're super exposed. If you bring 2 or 3 smokes, throw them there. If it actually fucking like filled it up,
yeah. I haven't.
Well, then you have the risk reward over having cover. But now, if someone's at the lighthouse already, they're gonna be like, "Oh, shit, someone's coming through," and they're gonna post up, right?
Yeah.
So, give a bunch of risk and reward to everything.
Yep. Yeah.
And the game becomes, you know, just moves in a really good direction. So, I mean, they did make steps forward in the right direction 6 months ago or whatever when they made changes to, well, I don't know if they added the new smokes that were better or if they fixed.
Yeah, they added the new ones, the green ones, and yeah, they're pretty sick. And then they added the flares and the flare guns.
Have you experienced that at all?
Yeah, dude, they're cool. So the green, the blue, and the white don't do anything yet. They said that they're going to be like quests related to them. So I'm assuming it's going to be, you know, I'm assuming there's going to be a quest where it's like maybe toss this flare and then hold down this position for a certain amount of time. Nikita specifically mentioned that like the storyline quests will when those colored flares come in. The white one is really cool. Valiant found a white one. We were in dorms and he just shot it at the ground and it just lit up the whole hallway, dude. It looked so sick.
Did it like limit your vision a lot? Like, did it blind or?
No, it didn't blind. It was just like, it just.
Would you feel comfortable using it as cover if someone was down the hall?
No, probably not.
God.
It was pretty sick though. Well, maybe, I don't know. I was trying to line up screenshots as soon as he did it for thumbnails.
Oh yeah.
I haven't shot a flare at night yet, which I'm excited about. I want to see actually how much of the sky it illuminates. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Though, however, the red ones call airdrops, and we have done that multiple times where we hit an airdrop, and it'll drop in like close to where you shot it off. So like that is some crazy PvP and some shooterborn in heaven bait, dude. Me and Valiant shot off one as soon as the shoreline raid started. We popped one because he had a flare, and it came in and it dropped right in front of us, and we killed like 6 people. People were just booking it across the map trying to get it because the airdrops are nuts now because there's 4 different types. There's medical, and you can get like all the stims you need for samples, like all those weird ones, like tons of them in there. Weapon.
That change makes samples an infinitely better. They didn't have to change the quest to make the quest better.
Yes. The weapon one, you can get like crazy good guns. The and like armors, like people are finding slicks in there. The general one has like tons of stuff for like quests. Like people are saying I found like 5 gas analyzers in one of the like general ones, which is like, oh, now that's wait for that other quests better.
Buffed. I mean, nerfed.
So the airdrops are sick. So people want them. So people will chase them down. So you can pop one, run 125 meters away, and just wait. Holy cow! And you're
now imagine someone that uses that as bait. You then throw your smoke down, sneak in, grab 100%,
dude, 100%. So like
play and counterplay, man.
That's pretty cool. The flares and the airdrops are good. The bosses, dude. Okay, so the bosses are really cool in the sense that I don't know how it does this, but the bosses will spawn on shoreline, lighthouse, woods, or customs. And in
all of them, or are they
all 3? They always spawn all 3 together.
Oh, the new ones.
Yeah, the new ones. So I like that because that means they're not farmable if you don't know where they're gonna spawn. You know what I mean? Like,
how am I gonna get my whatever the equivalent of kill killer?
Eventually, we're gonna get a quest to kill Big Pipe for sure. But for the long term of the game, though, you know what I mean? Like, you remember when
100%. That's objectively a solid decision.
Yeah.
Nikita had originally been like, they're gonna spawn at the fucking water treatment plant, and it's like, great. So there's gonna be the shitty rogues and the new AI with shittier weapons, and it's gonna feel like aids to everybody that isn't gonna cheese them. But that sounds awesome. Yeah. So you can just like run into them. So I like that. That feels Tarkov, where you're running on woods and you hear an RSAS crack off and you're like, is that bird eye?
I need to get to cover. You know what I mean? Like people are gonna mauled. We've talked about this before. Tarkov is way too predictable right now to be the game it wants to be.
Yep.
People are predictable means masterable. So lots of people know exactly what to do and when to do it, and they're very successful at that. As Tarkov tries to become what it wants to be, people will see it as a negative thing, but in my opinion, it will be a positive thing. I was on my loot run, dude, a freaking bird eye sniped me. It's like, were you running out in the open because you didn't think anybody was going to be there? If yes, that's on you, bro. Like, the game is not supposed to be that predictable. You're supposed to stay frosted. You know where they spawn. They spawn on woods, they spawn on shoreline, they spawn on customs, they spawn on lighthouse. So if you're on any of those maps, be careful. You know what I mean? Just like nobody runs, head first into the lumber mill because you're like, what if Sturman's there? You're kind of like, have I heard him? Whatever. Yep. Now you have to do that on the whole map of all 4 maps. And I think that that's a good change. Of course, it's super sucky to kill a 2-man. You're trying to loot him and, you just get sniped, or freaking Big Pipe hits his GL and you didn't know they were there.
As long as he's not Sturman level, like broken Sturman.
Now, once again, for every give, there's a take, Veritas. For every give, there's a take. I played 18 hours on wipe day. I played 14 hours the next day. I played 11 hours the next day. I haven't come across them. I haven't come across Big Pipe and the gang.
I heard they nerfed their spawn rates too, right?
Well, they're less. So like Killa and like Reshala will have like 30% spawn chances to spawn on.
Oh, maybe it was the rogues that I heard.
Oh,
I think
I
think it was like One Peg made a video or something.
Yeah.
And I was watching it earlier to get up to date. Okay, that was probably
Now
it.
The thing is, so Big Pipe doesn't always spawn with the big GL, the new one, the 6-shot. Like, I've seen somebody kill him where he had just the
golden TT.
No, the one that we had in the game already, the FL40 or whatever it was, the single shot one. And then I watched a video, but the problem is Veritas.
Oh no.
Because the thing was, if you can get it from him, what's the other thing? It's like, well, how reliably can you get ammo?
And you sell it on the flea market.
I watched somebody loot Big Pipe, and he had 12 grenades on him.
I'm happy that the folks who are designing these features and characters are spending a bunch of time thinking about the consequences.
I was like, who approved this? That is in a game where I can show you a clip. A Gluhar guard on reserve aggroed me through the wall, and while I was laughing about him aggroing me through the wall, he shot 5 full magazines. He shot 5 magazines and reloaded. Brrr, reload. I swing the corner, I kill him, I loot him. The mag in his gun is half full, and every other mag in his pouch is full of ammo. In a game where the AI don't actually shoot their ammo, you're going to give the most OP boss with the most OP weapon 12 lootable rounds.
You have to ask yourself, is this just because there's no way they don't fix this.
Yeah.
Eventually. So the question is it just an incompetence issue again,
Dude.
Like just a brain dead, or are they jacking up the chances of whatever to make it so that people experience the thing and get to use it a bunch, and then they get, is it we planned this all along, now let's turn the dial down, or we didn't plan for this all along, turn the dial down.
Maybe, dude. It's hard to tell. It's hard to tell. But that's what we got.
Okay.
So bosses are pretty cool, though, other than that, in how they move around and they communicate with each other. Offline co-op, I actually haven't tested yet because...
You what, mate?
Because they said that when the server load is crazy, they basically will like take servers from that. So like you might log into an offline co-op and it'll be like, hey, queue times might be longer than normal because of high load. So I didn't even try because I was like, why? What do you mean high load? 300,000 people are playing right now. You know what I mean? 2, you can't freaking turn off AI in offline co-op. You have to have AI on.
I was gonna ask, and then I'm like, well, that's a stupid question. There's no way they didn't do that.
I would have thought it was a stupid question too.
Oh my god. Oh my god.
So now you're gonna die to scabs when you're trying to do your testing or science or whatever.
Oh my fucking god. Okay, nope. Great. Nope. They added co-op. I'm happy. It's great. I'm not gonna mauled.
Yeah. So
I've got nothing to say about that. Step in the right direction, BSG.
Yeah. So yeah. So it's like, so you need to have EOD. There needs to be not a whole lot of server load, and you can't turn off the AI. You still can't choose the weather. You can just choose current weather or random weather, but I can't just choose not rainy, for God's sake.
Well, yeah, so now the whole ability, like, now the single player Tarkov enjoyers are basically, like, even though it doesn't satisfy them, that's who it's going to satisfy the most. It's not going to satisfy the people who want to do testing, the content creators who want to try to make cool cinematic content, the people who want to teach their friends the maps and the callouts and everything, teach them the mechanics. Like, there's just, it still is better than a live raid, sure. It's one step in the right direction. Yeah. But they've got a segue, and in terms of mobility, that's the worst thing I could have come up with, because it's probably the slowest form of
like
mobility.
A one wheel.
But all they got to do is just lean forward a little bit, and they're infinitely further than one step. So maybe actually that wasn't.
Yeah.
Just make it so there's a checkbox to turn off the AI, and now the feature goes from
there's a literal
a letdown to being exactly what we've been asking for years.
There's a literal, you click offline mode, right? They call it practice mode now. You click next, you click practice mode, and then there's a literal box that says enable AI. You can check it or uncheck it. If you check co-op offline, it grays out that box and checks AI. So once again, if you're going into a solo offline raid, you can turn the AI off. And I don't even get why you couldn't, because wouldn't not having the AI off make the server run better and easier? Like, I don't know.
I mean, they should have just made it so that it was like every Call of Duty game back in the day, how one person is the host.
Yeah.
Just make it peer to peer, like.
Yeah.
Then there's no issue with server load. And never mind. Just never mind.
Yeah. Step in the right direction.
Just never mind.
The last thing is they did some nerfs to some max soft skills, which
I heard that.
Which I think nobody, like, I haven't heard a single person that like min maxes soft skills complain about it. So I think it's a dub, because people are just frustrated. So they reduced the hearing bonus.
What about people who don't min max?
They're all excited.
Complain about it.
They're all excited.
I'm saying that I watched Pestily had a patch notes video, and I'm fine that they did it. Yeah. I don't really care. But the whole thing that they reduced the amount that you could hear with max perception, and everybody's like, thank God it was so overpowered. Yeah. It's like, did anybody learn anything from any of the stuff? Because it's like...
That's what I'm saying, is that, like, they're not gonna win any more fights. If you're level 7 and you were complaining about perception, you're gonna see this wipe that you're not gonna win any more fights. That wasn't the thing that was killing you. You know what I mean? Same thing with
now
max
they're just gonna
stamina.
shift blame onto something else. It's gonna be some other skill, or some other feature, or that was a cheater, or whatever. Honestly, I think that was either, I mean, the way I look at it is, either they were just doing it to appeal to the masses, and they were like, we don't think it's that big of a deal, but we're going to do the change that, everybody wants.
Yeah.
Or they were like, yes, 15% or whatever the number was, I forget, 30%, whatever it was, is too much. We need to turn it down, when in reality, the numbers that they quoted that were on the box weren't right.
Yeah.
And then even if they were right, they were almost completely insignificant. You were talking about like single digit meters between max level and min level perception, which in my case is like it's not that there's no difference. It's just that has never been in any way the reason why you died.
Yeah. I know. I've had people where like I heard something very, very faint, and because of my map knowledge, because of how many thousands of raids I've played on woods, let's say, I'm like, I think there's a guy here. I swing the corner and I kill him. And then I've had people in chat go, dude, elite perception. And I'm like, he was only 10 meters away from me. Like, which
means that
he was within the zone that if you had level 1 perception, you just would have heard that, not known if you heard something, not known where to place where that noise was. I just have 5,000 hours in this game, and I knew that bush was probably on the other side of this rock, so I swung it and he was there. That had nothing to do with perception. That had everything to do with experience.
Dude, I've trained myself. I could be full sprinting with GSSHs or whatever and through a bush, and I'm like, I heard a PMC breathe 30 meters to my right.
Yeah.
And it's because I've just been trained over 10,000 hours to like hear those things. It wasn't perception. It was my real life perception and experience.
Exactly. But at the end of the day, basically, it works both ways. I thought it was insignificant when it was in, so it's insignificant for them to reduce it, and it's just one less thing for people to complain about. The strength thing, I'm very glad about, because the original flavor text for the elite strength skills said your weapons do not weigh anything, but the execution was your weapons, your armor, your helmet, your contacts, your glasses, your face mask, your backpack, none of it weighed anything. And it wasn't until you started putting stuff in your backpack that weighed anything. And it was like, that's dumb. You know what I mean? So now they've just fixed it where it's just your 2 guns and your sidearm don't weigh anything and everything else does. That's fine. That's exactly what it was, literally what it said it was supposed to be the whole time. I'm totally fine with that. It's for everybody, not just me. So it levels the playing field. That's fine. I think that's a good change. And then metabolism is fine too, where like at elite metabolism, you just like never had to eat or drink. You know what I mean? Like ever. And they made it so like you won't take damage. Your character's health won't decrease, but you'll still get some of the other debuffs. Like your stamina will regen slower. You won't be able to do this. You might be blurry vision or whatever those debuffs are, which that too, I'm like,
that should be how it is that should be the baseline though, in my opinion. Like if you don't eat for 20 minutes of IRL time, you shouldn't be dying. You should be lethargic and get some other debuffs, maybe even blurry vision. But the fact that you're like dying, I don't know, it's just one of those kind of annoying things. But again, all of those things I'm completely fine with.
100% same.
The only reason why, and I'm trying, the reason why a lot of times it seems like I'm focusing on the negative is because the positives, like either it's neutral and there's something negative, or it's because the positives are a given and we don't need to jerk off the devs for doing the thing that they should have done. So
for
instead,
fixing the strength bug that was in the game for 4 years.
If there's 10 things about a change and 9 of them are good and everybody knows the 9, there's no reason to talk about the 9. I'm going to talk about the 1 that's worth noting. So I genuinely don't really care about any of the skill changes. I don't think that the skills ever really made a significant difference in anybody's combat experience. I do think that they were more of a convenience thing. Like now everybody, the whole wipe is going to be a little bit more annoyed with the weight system as opposed to everybody being annoyed and it's slowly getting better until the point where it's not an issue. And the skills are significant. Level 50 strength and level 50 endurance is hugely different than level 1. But what everybody was just hyper focused on was the elite perks. So it's like, okay, they nerfed the elite perks, and it's like that guy's still gonna run just as fast away from you. 49 is 99% far away from 1 as 50.
So it's so
some
exactly.
People, some people are just going to be happy that like, they nerfed the thing that I hated without having any real reason to hate it. Chances are most people, I'm sure most people never actually got to experience what those things were like and actually had a chance to objectively compare them, like myself and a few other people have done when testing. And I have a feeling that a lot of this might be contentious, and I don't know. This is kind of from memory, but whenever I hear like the other Tarkov content creators who are like the min-max Uber Chads that are like, yeah, I wish they would nerf all these things, they're OP. A lot of times that feels to me like they're just like, yeah, guys, I have these things and I know you all hate it. I'm just a common everyman like you all. It's kind of like, nah, okay, if you hated it, then you wouldn't jump around and use it and abuse it. You would be like, Smoke was a perfect example of somebody who's like, I do not like how shitty spawn fights are. So I'm going to sit in spawn and hide and wait until everybody moves. And then I'm going to move. He didn't just say, well, if you can't beat him, join him.
Yeah.
Because in my opinion, that, and I'm guilty of it too, but you can't just say, I don't like this thing and I hope they change it, but I'm still going to use it. It's kind of hypocritical.
Well, I get it. I get that people are always just going to want to use whatever advantage they have to win or to get ahead or to do this, but they can still think something is unnecessary. To me, it's like,
well, they don't have to, not always.
Yeah. Well, it's
not
they don't
totally unreasonable.
They don't
but
have
some people
to.
Don't.
But that's the thing, exactly, is that like I respect people that don't, but I also respect people that do. I don't care. The thing to me is like, I don't know, like complain about it. Like I always like when like some of these guys that like are literally some of the best in the game, you know, complain. I don't know. It's a hard balance. There should be criticism, just like we do. There should be like, yo, this shouldn't be a thing. Like, you know what I mean? But it's just funny when, yeah, exactly. There are certain situations where it's like, well, you don't have to do that thing. You know what I mean? Like, there's a difference between being like, okay, everybody's like 7.62 BP is too available, it's too powerful, but it's just like if you're good at the game, you're going to end up with thousands and thousands and thousands of rounds of it because you're just killing other people that use it. So it's like, yeah, if you want to use a mutant, I use mutants all the time too. You know what I mean? It's just, you know, you can also use other things. Like, you know, I mean, you're probably good enough to kill somebody with an MP5. So if you're bored, maybe try that. You know what I mean? So I don't know.
I wonder. I haven't spent a ton of time really thinking a ton about this, but I wonder if my gut tells me yeah, and I'll think some more about this. I wish that the sound cues. The sound that players made, I feel like the range needs to be expanded in both directions. You should be able to sprint through the grass almost silently. All you should hear is the zipper on your bag going, right? Like even if you got a gun, if you're wearing body armor and you've got a backpack, you should hear just a little bit of swishing of the bag.
Yeah.
But like in real life, you can tighten that up, and if you don't have a bag full of change,
quietly.
You can move quietly. So you're able to sneak, you're able to even quickly. But the fact that you can crouch and slow walk,
yeah,
and everybody knows where you are all the time, it's that kind of thing that makes like
for sure
spawning forklift on factory aids. Because even if you crouch and you go backwards, now everybody already knows where you are and they're going to push you.
Yeah.
So there's no surprise. The surprise comes from right now. All you can do to surprise people is be at an off angle.
Yeah.
Or be prone.
Yeah.
Because everybody always knows where everybody is all the time.
Yep.
Unless you sit there and you don't move. But there are lots of situations where you want to be like, you're like, I want to sneak and there's someone coming my way, but I'm out in the open at the moment. I wish I could take 2 steps back behind the forklift and not telegraph to the guy that I'm there.
It's true. That also contributes to why so many people think that there are so many rats, because you can hear somebody sprinting from so far away. People are like, yo, somebody's close, especially if they're a new player. They're like, yo, somebody's close, and they get an angle, and they don't realize that they heard them from 30 meters away, and they just keep running, and they just keep running, and they just keep running, and they just keep running. And then they finally come around the corner, and they shoot him. They're like, oh, freaking rat. He's probably been there the whole raid. And it's like, no, it's just that the way the game works is that like when you're sprinting, everyone in a 30-meter radius knows exactly where you are. And yeah, there's no surprise. The only way you surprise somebody is by abusing mechanics, right? Like you're on shoreline and you go to the first floor because you know that the way the game works right now, you can't hear people under you, only above you. So then you surprise the guy, you know what I mean?
Yeah, and it feels really good when you're able to like set up an ambush. And you used to be able to, or at least I used to be able to, don't know what changed, don't really need to get back in that conversation, but I feel like I used to be able to use my head and I didn't have to have the raw reaction time of Warrun or whoever else, but I could still beat Warrun 45% of the time by just holding an angle, surprising,
flanking, moving to a place, yeah.
But now it's like you don't get really much benefit. You get some benefit from standing completely still. You either should be standing completely still or full sprinting, because then you get the benefit of the net code and being hard to hit, but you can't be sneaky and mobile and tactical.
Yep.
Right? Like that clip I had where I got in that fight, right? There's nothing I could have done except stay in glass hallway behind the boxes.
Yeah.
And not move. And I would have got sandwiched between two teams and it would have sucked, right? But imagine if I could shoulder my gun up to my fucking cheek and, powerfully, confidently, with like flat, quiet feet on my rubber soles, not my steel-toed fucking Heelys, walk and hold and come out and, be confident. It doesn't have to be broken quick. It can be slow and methodical and realistic, right? Slow is smooth, smooth is fast, that whole thing. Then that fight would have been, I think, a lot different.
Yep.
Because then I could have held, and as he came around the corner, I would have been that much more likely to hit him with a headshot on the first thing.
100%.
But instead, we both surprised each other, came around the corner, and we're going like this. And so again, that's like another reason why when I said it felt bad, it didn't occur to me that so much of that was that we both surprised each other with sound while we were both running and we couldn't respond. And there's this weird, you can't have a middle ground.
Yeah, for sure.
A middle ground would have made that potentially a lot better in that we both would have surprised each other. We both would have been effectively high, ready, almost aiming, even if there's a little bit of a movement penalty.
Yeah.
It wouldn't have been run, get surprised, put your gun up, stutter step, and
and then the guy who was paying most attention wins because he was moving and he was moving tactically as opposed to just wandering. You know what I mean? The person that's moving with intention would win most of the time as opposed to just like wandering around because you're checking the angles, you can move, and then I agree.
It took me an hour, but I came up with one instance, I suppose, of how maybe it could feel better.
Yeah. No, that's good. I would be all for that. But
then everybody would be a silent rat and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
I'd rather have rats, quote unquote rats, moving around. Because then at least you could see them if you were holding or if you were sniping or whatever, rather than people just shift W or
prone in a bush.
Yeah.
Those are the two options. Yep. But that's the wipe. That's 12.12.30. So we'll see. Like I said, I've had my expectations were kind of low just because I really wasn't looking forward to another wipe. I've had some things that were like real surprise and delight. Some days, some parts of the game, it just feels really good. It feels fun and it feels better. And some of the old stuff that's frustrating is there. Some new stuff that's frustrating. But classic Tarkov. We'll see what happens if they hit us with any like mid-wipe patches or if anything develops. Nikita tweeted that they've been working on some stuff. So yeah, but that's the stuff. We've been going here for 2 hours.
Well, I gotta
feeling good.
I'm gonna give it one or two more tries.
Yeah.
One or two more tries. I had to put it in sub-only mode and ban a few people for and it's like, that's not going to convince me they want to give it a second try.
Yeah.
When you got
you freaking left side peeked. Never left side peek.
Oh god, I already had the first raid I did. Monk-ass left side peeking in AI. Oh god, here we go.
Yeah,
wasn't a thing until one or two streamers started mentioning left side peeks, and then now it's the meta.
Yep.
But I wish you luck on your raids. I believe you're going to be playing with Valiant tonight.
Yeah.
Don't know which map should I go to. I don't want to go factory because everybody's gonna be like, you're just butthurt because you went factory and don't know how to play. Veritas doesn't know how to play factory. So
I mean, Woods has been great. There's so much loot there. There's a little bit more distance. Woods has been good. Shoreline, customs. I don't know. I mean, customs is customs, right? It's early game customs. There's people everywhere. And sometimes you get dudes with, Scav Boss Gen 4 and MP7s, or sometimes you get dudes with pistols and it's their third raid. So we've been doing a lot of Woods.
I think I might go get Jaegers.
Oh, yeah.
Letter just so I can set it on fucking fire.
Yeah, in front of them.
In front of them.
Yeah. Oh yeah, dude, the interchange extract camping has been bad. We got it so many times yesterday, bro.
I've been extract camp there 2 times in all my years.
Yeah, I was extract camp there 3 times yesterday.
Someone must have made a YouTube video.
Yeah. Yesterday. We won 2 of the 3. I tragically died to one of them.
Oh no.
Yep.
Well, good luck.
I jumped over, it was Emercom. I jumped over the barrier on the road, and I was by the truck extracting, and I VoIPed, if anybody's camping back here, you have a tiny wiener. I heard a nade hit a ground and blow up.
So that was, someone was like, can I post a funny clip? And I didn't click it. All I did was see the title was like tiny wiener. Yeah. That must have been it.
That was it. That was it. The dude was back by the fences, scav with a nade. It was a player scav. And he just tossed it. It was good. Good clip. But anyways, yeah, thank you guys thanks for hanging. Thanks for coming with us on this emotional journey that is the new Tarkov wife.
Thank you for all the comments.
Yeah, the early ones were really, really good. But it's a little late. It's Saturday, so this will be up on all the places on Monday. You guys have been showing a lot of support, so thank you so much. Thanks for hanging, and we'll definitely see y'all on the next one.
Peace.
I wonder if you could just cut out all of the peace and use it as a gauge of like how Veritas is feeling about Tarkov.
Peace.
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 Peace. That was definitely the lowest energy. Peace.